Welcome back to the deep dive. I have to admit, I've been sitting with the material for this episode for a few days, and it's genuinely messing with my head.
Yeah, it's a heavy one.
It is. Usually we're looking at tech trends or, history, productivity hacks. But today we are looking at something that feels a little too close to home. We're talking about normalization.
It's deceptive, isn't it? Because it sounds so boring. Normalization sounds like a setting on your washing machine or something.
Right, exactly. It sounds like things just settling down. But the argument we're unpacking today is that normalization isn't the calm after the storm. It's actually the most dangerous part of the storm. It's about a specific moment in the life of any society or any system where the ground just shifts beneath our feet and we don't even notice it's happening.
And if we asked most people to pinpoint that moment, the moment a system of control really takes hold, what do you think they'd say?
Oh, I think most of us, myself included, would look for the big dramatic event. The day the law was passed, the day the tanks rolled in.
The emergency broadcast.
Yeah, the emergency broadcast system going off. We look for that official start date.
Exactly. We look for the mechanics of it, the external force. But the research we have here argues that actually none of those are the point of no return.
Right.
You can pass a law and people can hate it. You can declare an emergency and people can just roll their eyes. That's not control. That's just rules.
So if it's not the law signing,
Yeah.
what is it? The materials call it the strange turn. Which, by the way, sounds like a great title for a mystery novel.
Yeah.
But what is this turn?
The strange turn it's psychological. It's the moment when the population stops tolerating a restriction because they have to and starts defending it because it feels right. It's when the enforcement shifts from the police officer on the corner to the little voice inside your own head.
That is the part that gave me chills. So we aren't talking about compliance anymore. We're talking about loyalty.
Loyalty to the restriction itself. Correct. And that is the mission for this deep dive. We need to figure out how human beings who, generally love freedom and doing whatever they want, get to a point where they will aggressively defend the very cage they're in.
Okay, let's break this down, because I think I'm a pretty logical person. If I'm following a rule, it's usually because I don't want to fine, or I don't want to go to jail. That's just self-preservation. But this argues there's a difference between acceptance and defense. Isn't that just semantics?
It feels like semantics until you look at the motivation behind it. Let's look at acceptance first. Acceptance is passive. It's transactional. Imagine you're driving at 3 a.m. You come to a red light. The streets are completely empty. You can see for a mile in every direction. Do you stop?
Yeah, I stop. I don't want a ticket. And I'm a creature of habit.
Right. You stop. But are you happy about it?
No, of course not. I'm probably annoyed. I'm sitting there tapping the steering wheel thinking, this is so stupid. The sensor should know I'm the only one here.
That is acceptance. You are complying, but you are separate from the rule. The rule is something happening to you. You're just enduring it.
Got it.
Now imagine the strange turn happens. You're at that same light, same empty street, same 3 a.m. But now if a passenger in your car says, hey, it's clear, just go, you don't just say, nah, I might get caught.
What do I do?
You get angry. You feel this spike of indignation. You say, no, we stop at red lights. That is what keeps us safe. You're being reckless just by suggesting it.
Okay, I see the difference now. In the first scenario, I'm above the law. In the second, I'm preaching the gospel of the red light.
Precisely. Defense is active. It's been internalized. When you cross that line, you stop being a captive of the system and you start being a guardian of it.
And the biggest symptom of this shift isn't your own behavior.
No.
It's how you react to other people. Yeah. The notes mention this feeling of unease. It's not a logical disagreement. It's a gut feeling of visceral, emotional discomfort when someone else questions the rules.
That's the signal. If you were just tolerating the rule and someone complained about it, you'd bond over it. You'd say, yeah, this stinks, doesn't it?
We'd complain together.
But once normalization locks in, a complaint feels like a threat. It doesn't create solidarity. It makes you feel unsafe.
That's a powerful pivot. You go from being the person complaining about the wall to the person patching the cracks in it. But why? What drives a person to do that? I assume it starts with fear.
It always starts with fear. But here is where it gets really interesting. The fear migrates.
Migrates, like birds.
In a way, yeah. Think about the start of any crisis. A war, a pandemic, a financial collapse. The fear is directional. It points outward.
Right.
We are afraid of the wolf. The restriction, the lockdown, the ration card, the curfew, that's just a shield. We hold the shield because we are scared of the wolf.
Makes sense. The shield is a tool. It's not the point.
But over time, if that state of emergency drags on, the fear shifts. It stops pointing at the wolf and it starts pointing at the shield. We stop being afraid of the external threat, and we start being terrified of losing the protection.
So even if the wolf is gone, or the wolf is old and toothless now, we're clutching the shield so tight our knuckles are white.
Yes. The fear turns inward. It becomes a fear of uncertainty, a fear of change. The notes call this the what if anxiety.
I recognize this. I've heard this. It's that conversation loop where someone suggests, hey, maybe we don't need to do this anymore. And the response is never a chart or a data point. It's just anxiety. What if we remove it too soon? What if something happens?
And notice the phrasing there, what if? It's not a statement of fact. It's an expression of psychological dependence.
It reminds me of when I was a kid. I finally had to take the training wheels off my bike. I knew how to ride. Physically, I was ready. But the moment my dad took the wrench to the back wheel, I started crying.
Yes.
I wasn't afraid of the pavement. I was afraid of the feeling of not having the wheels there.
That is the perfect analogy. The training wheels are that normalized control. You weren't afraid of the reality. You were afraid of the loss of the mechanism. The control had become your security blanket.
And when a whole society treats a restriction as a security blanket, things get messy.
Well, they get messy because it stops being about safety and it starts being about who you are. This is the part of the deep dive that really stuck with me. The connection between control and identity. This is the glue that holds it all together. See, normalized systems don't just regulate what you do, they shape who you are. If you follow the rules in a hyper-normalized society, you aren't just compliant, you are good.
Irresponsible.
You're virtuous.
And if you question them,
then you aren't just a skeptic, you're dangerous, you're reckless, you're a bad person. Compliance completely transforms into morality.
it's like, okay, imagine a sports team. Everyone is wearing the jersey. If you wear the jersey, you're on the team. You're one of us.
Right.
If you take the jersey off, you aren't just a guy without a shirt. You're a traitor. You're rejecting the tribe.
Exactly. And human beings are desperate to belong. We are social creatures. If the group decides that restriction X is the symbol of the tribe, the jersey, as you put it, then taking it off feels like social suicide.
So people start signaling alignment. That's a phrase from the notes. We do things not because they make sense or because a cop is watching, but to tell everyone around us, hey, look at me, I'm wearing the jersey, I'm one of the good ones.
It becomes a performance of virtue, and the motivation shifts from avoiding punishment to seeking validation. You want to be seen as part of the solution.
And once your identity is wrapped up in the restriction, logic has left the building. You cannot argue someone out of their identity with a spreadsheet.
Not a chance. That explains why these conversations get so explosive.
Yeah.
If I question the rule, I'm not just questioning a policy, I'm attacking your self-worth. I'm telling you that your virtue is actually just unnecessary compliance. No wonder people get defensive.
It feels like an attack on their character. And that brings us to the danger of questioning. In this phase, asking questions isn't seen as a neutral act. It's seen as an act of aggression. The notes describe this phenomenon called the room goes quiet. And I feel like I've lived this. You're at a dinner party, everyone is chatting, and someone asks us a question that is just a little too real. Like, so, when does this actually end? And the vibe just dies.
It's a heavy silence, isn't it? It's palpable.
It is. It's like someone just burped at a funeral, but worse.
It's the silence of social transgression. And the research points out something fascinating here. The room goes quiet not because they don't know the answer, though they usually don't, but because the act of asking feels wrong.
It feels impolite.
It feels unsafe.
So the silence acts as a buffer. It's a warning shot.
Ideally, yes. It tells the person asking, we don't do that here. Get back in line. And usually, it works. The person feels awkward, they change the subject, and the system remains unchallenged.
It's incredibly efficient, isn't it? I mean, if you were a dictator, this is exactly what you'd want.
It's the dream.
You don't want to pay for guards on every corner. You want the dinner party guests to police themselves.
That is the invisible power concept. Force is expensive. Force requires energy, money, weapons, surveillance. And force creates resentment. People naturally push back against a boot on their neck.
But they don't push back against their own conscience.
Exactly. Defense self-enforcement is free. It's self-sustaining. When the population defends the restrictions themselves, the power becomes invisible.
You don't need a censor when people censor each other.
You don't need a guard when people police their neighbors. And they don't just police behavior, they police ideas.
Right. We talked about how the skeptic becomes the bad person, but the notes take it further. The critic is reframed as a danger.
That is a crucial distinction. If I say I disagree with you, we can have a debate. But if I brand you as a risk or a hazard or a danger to the public, then I don't have to debate you.
You just have to shut me down.
I have to silence you for the safety of the group.
It's a biohazard symbol just slapped onto an opinion.
Which makes the system incredibly difficult to remove. The locks aren't on the outside of the door anymore. They are on the inside.
That is terrifyingly brilliant in a dark way. And it leads us to the final stage the material describes, the point of no return.
This is the endgame. This is when morality seals the deal. We've moved from fear to identity to self-enforcement. Now we reach the point where the defense of the restriction feels like a moral imperative.
The text says this is when people don't just comply, they believe.
Yes. And once you believe in the restriction as a moral good, removing it feels unethical, even if the original threat is gone, even if the wolf has been dead for years.
Because the restriction itself is now the virtue.
Correct. The research highlights a specific response here. When someone asks, what if we don't need this anymore? The answer is no longer about evidence. It is the phrase, we can't take that risk.
I hear that phrase all the time. We can't take that risk. It sounds so prudent. It sounds so responsible. Who could argue with that?
But in this context, it's a conversation stopper. It's a refusal to look at reality. Because you can always imagine a risk. Life is risk. If avoiding risk is the only metric that matters, you will never unlock the door. Conviction has replaced evidence.
And conviction doesn't ask questions.
Conviction demands loyalty. When you reach this stage, you aren't dealing with public policy anymore. You are dealing with dogma. You are dealing with a kind of secular religion.
And you cannot roll back a religion just by signing a decree saying the emergency is over.
You can't. That is the part that really sticks with me. You can repeal a law. You can fire a politician. But how do you appeal a belief?
You can't.
That is the hardest thing to dismantle. The material implies that once you reach this stage where normalization is defended by the people, not the state, you have crossed a threshold. The system is no longer held up by pillars. It's held up by the air everyone breathes.
So where does that leave us? We've traced this arc from the strange turn, through the migration of fear, the identity trap, the silence, all the way to this moral deadlock. What's the big takeaway here?
I think the main takeaway is to understand that true control isn't about force, it's about belief. It's about creating a world where the restriction feels necessary, normal, and moral. It's about making the alternative freedom or the before times feel dangerous and irresponsible.
It's the idea that the cage isn't keeping you in, it's keeping the danger out. And eventually you fall in love with the cage because it's the only place you feel like a good person.
And you will fight anyone who tries to open the door because that open door just looks like chaos.
The source material ends with a thought that I find really haunting. It talks about the consequence of all this. It says that the idea of returning to before becomes impossible. Not because we can't go back, but because we don't want to.
Right. Because if you have spent years building your identity around these protections and you have defended them as moral and virtuous, then going back to how things were isn't just a policy change. It's a regression.
Yeah.
It feels like stepping backward into a world that is less safe, less moral, and less controlled.
It's a one-way ratchet.
And as the text puts it, once belief replaces enforcement, there is nothing left to roll back.
That's the thought I'm stuck on. If the enforcement is coming from inside us, there is no external switch to flip to turn it off. There is no king to overthrow. The king is in our heads.
And that poses the ultimate challenge. How do you de-escalate a population that has learned to police itself? How do you lower the temperature when everyone is terrified of the cold?
I don't think we have the answer to that today. But I think just seeing the mechanism is the first step. Next time you feel that flash of annoyance or that unease when someone questions a norm, stop for a second.
Ask yourself, is that my logic talking, or is that my defense kicking in? Are you angry because they are wrong, or are you angry because they aren't wearing the jersey?
Who is actually angry? You, or the system you're defending? That is something worth chewing on. A huge thank you to the researchers behind this deep dive. It's uncomfortable but necessary work. And thank you to you, the listener, for coming along with us.
Stay safe out there. But maybe ask yourself what safe really means.
We'll see you on the next deep dive. Stay curious.